this is my channel. So at the end of my last video I mentioned that E3 is coming up obviously in a couple of days time and I'm so excited for it, and I said that I was going to make a video with my E3 hopes and predictions, which is what I'm doing today. It is more hopes than predictions because I'm not incredibly analytical of the entire gaming industry scene for this kind of thing, so I can't really tell based on things that have happened what I actually expect to happen at E3, but these are things that I am hoping for and somewhat expecting to happen at E3 and just wanted to get my thoughts out. So I'm just going to focus on the big three, the big hardware ones, so Microsoft, Sony and Nintendo, in that order, in the same order that the keynotes are in. So I'll start with Microsoft. Firstly, I am expecting, although not particularly excited about, a whole bunch of Kinect news. I mean, the sales have been doing pretty well for Kinect. Star Wars Kinect, I think, had a pretty good amount of sales, even though the game itself was pretty disappointing. And, you know, Kinect's been doing pretty well, so I'm expecting a whole bunch of Kinect games, maybe some new Kinect pricing, or maybe a lighter model. I'm not really sure about that, but I'm definitely expecting a whole bunch of stuff about the Kinect. Apart from that, obviously a bunch of news on Halo 4 and the new Gears of War game, because those are their two big hyped up games right now, as well as maybe some Call of Duty Black Ops 2 stuff, which once again I'm not that excited about, but last year there was a pretty big thing about Call of Duty at Microsoft's conference, I think, so I'm guessing they'll be doing some Black Ops 2 stuff. And maybe, I know it's so unlikely to hear about a new Microsoft console or anything, but I guess there's always the possibility of having that there. Maybe some news about the next console, or even a handheld, which I would not bet on that, I would not hold my breath for it, but it would be pretty cool to hear about Microsoft doing a handheld and entering themselves into that competition with the Vita and the 3DS. And although this is completely out of the blue, I would love it if Rare got to make a Banjo-Kazooie style game for the 360, but not like nuts and bolts, more like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. Completely out of the blue, but man, I would love that so much. It'd also be great to have some Borderlands 2 news, but that could also happen at Sony's keynote, I guess. I'm not really sure. In terms of multi-console games, I'm not sure which company gets to talk about them, but I'd love to see some Borderlands 2 stuff either in Microsoft or Sony's keynote. Moving on to Sony now. Kind of like how the Kinect is a big thing with Microsoft, the PlayStation Move I'm hoping won't have as much focus as it did last year, because honestly, as far as I can tell, the Move hasn't been probably as big as Sony had hoped. So hopefully they will I don't mind hearing a few titles, maybe a little bit of news about it, but I would prefer if they kind of steered clear of too much news about the PlayStation Move for now, just because it's not particularly interesting. For the Vita, I'm hoping for a bunch of new game release dates like Monster Hunter on the PlayStation Vita, because that single game release would make me buy a Vita, so I'm really hoping for a Monster Hunter release date or news at least for the Vita, as well as maybe some other trailers and game announcements for the Vita, because I feel like at this point the software library for it is still lacking a whole bunch. I've considered buying one, but at this point I'm just no, there's not enough games for me to play to actually want a Vita, so I'm hoping they'll announce maybe some release dates and some new titles that are actually going to make me excited to get a PlayStation Vita. Along with that, maybe a price drop, just to kind of put it on even level playing ground with the 3DS. And the 3DS did have a price drop about a year after its big E3 reveal kind of deal. So I think in terms of timing for the Vita, I think it'd be a good time for them to do a price drop announcement for it. I'm also expecting trailers and news for The Last of Us and the big PlayStation All-Stars game, as well as probably a couple of other titles, but I'm not really sure what big titles they've been concentrating on. I haven't been paying enough attention, but I'm sure they've got some up their sleeve to show off at E3, so I'm looking forward to some possibly new game announcements, but also just trailers and more information about games they have announced but haven't really talked about too much. And finally for Sony, it would be awesome to hear news or release dates or pricing or any sort of information about the Orbis or the PlayStation 4 or whatever code name or final name they're going for it, but like the Microsoft keynote, I'm not really anticipating hearing too much about that, because I think at this point they're probably still planning to focus mostly on the Vita and just kind of let the PS3 finish its life cycle before they really start going big on the PlayStation 4 or whatever. And finally, my favourite keynote every year is Nintendo, because they just do it so well. They make such a show of it, and it's so exciting. The first thing I'd like to note is that Nintendo are actually holding a pre-E3 Nintendo Direct, which is going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific time, June the 3rd. I think it's the 3rd, so yeah. that sounds about right. It's 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for me, and I'm probably not going to be awake to watch it, but it's going to have Wii U news, so hopefully that'll be more hardware and maybe specs and pricing kind of based, and that way I'm hoping that means they'll be able to focus more on the software and the 3DS at E3, which is great, and kind of get the hardware and the specs and stuff that not everyone is interested in out of the way beforehand. As far as the actual keynote goes, firstly the 3DS, I'm hoping for a bunch of release dates for this year, mostly for Paper Mario 3DS, Animal Crossing 3DS, and Luigi's Mansion 2, because those were announced way too long ago for us to not have dates for them now. So I'm hoping they'll be released maybe like the fourth quarter of this year. I'm also hoping for some new announcements because the 3DS is still a great handheld. I'm still loving mine, so I'm hoping for some new game announcements and release dates for that. I would also love, it would completely blow my mind if they brought Earthbound back to the 3DS, either a new game, which I wouldn't, I'd take it, but what I would love is like a compilation of like Earthbound and Mother 3, and like, I love it so much. And that's, I would like just start throwing my money at the television when I'm watching because that would be insane. I'd love that, but that's more a hope than a prediction because I'm really not seeing that happening. In terms of Wii U software, I'm hoping for a bunch of launch title information and, confirmation of actual launch titles. Things like Pikmin 3, maybe another Luigi's Mansion game depending on how they're going with the 3DS one maybe. The new Super Smash Bros. Game as well, which is, if I remember correctly, going to be a Wii U and 3DS cross-compatible game, so that would be great. I'd love information about that. And I think I wrote some notes down. Mario Kart on the 3DS, on the Wii U, as well as Zelda, which would be great. I would love to hear about some of those, but basically for Nintendo, mostly I just want release dates for the 3DS and some confirmed launch titles for the Wii U because Nintendo are always great, so no matter what they say, they're going to present it really well and I'll get really excited. Anyway, this was actually meant to be a pretty short video, but I think I talked for way too long to actually have that happen, so sorry about that. Please let me know in the comments if you guys agree with any of the predictions and hopes that I'm having for E3, and please let me know of your own because I'm so excited to read everyone's ideas and theories and hopes for E3 because it's the most exciting time of the year for gamers, isn't it? So definitely in the comments let me know your thoughts, and I guess that's probably all I have for today. I will probably be following up as the keynotes are going on, and if I can, posting like quick videos just between the keynotes, like right after I've watched them. I would love to do that because I am planning to stay up all night and watch them, which is going to be pretty bad the next day, but I'm definitely doing that, so I will probably see you guys then. Until then, bye!